Good evening, students and parents in Malaysia. We would like to welcome you to watch this live streaming. Let me do with my screen for a while. Yep, yeah, okay. Welcome to watch this live streaming with uh, UK Education Services. I'm Gabriel. I'm based in Kuching. My role is to promote study in the UK as an independent consultant. I work with universities. I work with institutions in the UK, schools, as well as education agents in Malaysia. Tonight we have a special guest from the UK who's going to join us from Concord College. Um, when I asked him what we would like to talk about tonight, he was saying that he just wanted to talk about Concord College, and I was just thinking about my first impression about Concord College when I was working for the British Council about nearly 10 years ago. And on a yearly basis, I have actually many students and family comes to me when they need my help for visas applications. And many of them went to Concord College. And something surprised me that still struck me today is that a lot of them goes as a family. The elder siblings after they went, and then the younger sibling went as well. And 2 years ago, when we had this UK education fair in Kuching and in KK, Mr. Lawrence joined us in Kuching and KK. And then something that again struck me is that in the hotel in Pullman, there were his students purposely came and visit him. And when we flew to KK that night, there was flight delay, and when we got to KK, his students were waiting at the airport welcoming him. And that is really something special about Concord College, where students, parents, perhaps they feel like they are in a family when they are in Concord College. I'm not just bluffing or trying to promote them. So this is something really, really special that impressed me in my heart. So tonight I just want to invite Mr. Lawrence online and let him say hi to you.
Hello, many thanks for welcoming me, Gabriel, and it's a real pleasure to have this chance to speak to you today, this evening in Malaysia and this afternoon here in the UK. I'm a little bit sad because I was hoping to visit you in East Malaysia once again this year, but because of all the travel restrictions as a result of the COVID virus, I'm afraid I won't be making it. But it will be very good to have a chance just to tell you a little bit about Concord College and support many of the nice things that Gabriel has said about us. As he said, we've been marketing in Concord College for many, many years now. Our former principal, Mr. Morris, was a very regular visitor, and so is our current principal, Mr. Hawkins, and myself. I'm the academic vice principal, and I handle a lot of Concord College recruitment in a number of countries around the world. And the truth be told, we love Malaysians. They are the warmest students we have. They mix very, very well with students of other nationalities. And we often think of our Malaysian students as the sort of the glue, really, that brings the whole college community together. And as Gabriel has suggested, Malaysians come in families. I remember there was one family from the south of Malaysia who they sent 8 of their children to us, and guess what? They all successfully went through and did either medicine or dentistry. That tells you some of the family loyalties that we have that just go on and on and on. And I think there are some special reasons for that. Sorry, Gabriel, we didn't speak.
Yeah, no problem. So, Mr. Lawrence, I'm going to hand over the time to you to introduce yourself, because when I look at the principal, the vice principal's years with the college, I think you were the longest one with Concord College as well. So, tell us. I think there's something in you that the student loves you so much, right? So tell us a bit more about you and about the college. Then you're going to share screen, share your PowerPoint later on, and then perhaps we'll try to keep this within about 30 minutes. And then if parents and students, if they want to ask any question, they can put in the comment column, and then we can answer their question later on.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Right.
Well, I joined Concord College way back in history in 1989, which is now 31 years. I'm heading into my 32nd year at Concord. And sometimes these days people look at my grey hair and they say, well, when are you going to retire, Mr. Lawrence? And I'd say, well, I don't really want to retire because I actually enjoy my job so much. I enjoy Concord. I think it's a fantastic place to work, and the students we have are wonderful, and they're very, very loyal, as Gabriel has said. They come together on our campus and they form very, very strong bonds with each other and with the teaching staff here at the college. So I'm not going anywhere. Before that, I was a teacher for 3.5 years in Tokyo with my wife, but now my wife is also a full-time teacher at the college. And both my sons are teachers at the college as well. One son teaches economics and the other one teaches maths and economics. So we have 3 Mr. Lawrences at the college now. And that sometimes leads to interesting muddles when we get the wrong emails for each other, but we usually sort that out. So yes, it's a wonderful place to work, and I've seen it grown during the year. When I first started at the college, it had just over 200 students, and now we're pushing up to 600 students. So we've seen tremendous growth in that time. I'd like to think we're not going to grow much more than we are at the moment, because at the moment everybody knows everybody, but I don't want it to get so that we're a college of strangers, because we place great importance on the idea of a family and community and being in this together. So we support our students very, very fully. We get to know them. I'll tell you some more about our university application process in a moment, but we stay in contact with them as well after they leave Concord, and through visits to countries like Malaysia, we often have big reunions and people get together. And so we have this phrase, once a Concordian, always a Concordian. And we believe that's very true. Okay, Gabriel, if that's okay, I will share my screen a little and say a little bit about Concord College.
Yep.
Just give me for a moment. This will take a little bit of time. Gabriel, can you just confirm that you can see that screen?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So if you're considering a education in the UK, I'm very pleased about that. And you will be thinking, which school? And it's possible that you've seen presentations from a number of UK schools. And my guess is all of them say the same thing: come to us, we are the best. And possibly I'm going to say that too, but I just want to have a little think about some of the differences between them, because there really is quite a range. Over on the left-hand side there, we have what you might call the traditional British boarding school. I know some of these schools, for example, Brighton College, Bromsgrove School, Market, quite regularly in Malaysia, and there are many, many others. When I say traditional British, what do I mean? I mean they have a uniform. I mean they are largely British with their students, and they have a few overseas students, but it's the kind of uniform, traditional buildings, strong emphasis on sport that you may imagine when you think of a traditional British education. And then a completely different type of school is what we call tutorial colleges. Now, these tutorial colleges, I'll give you some well-known examples in Malaysia, because I know those two institutions come to you very often: Cardiff Sixth Form College, Oxford International College. And those are mainly international. Now, they're very, very different to the traditional British schools because they mostly deal only in A levels. So they will take students from 16 to 18. But they also have a very different feel because both of them are based in the centre of cities, obviously Cardiff and Oxford. And the students live away from where they do their lessons. They live in boarding houses in the middle of the city, and the school itself is just a building with classrooms in it as well. And then each day the students walk back to their boarding house. So there isn't that same sense of community there that we get at Concord College. And I've put Concord College in the middle because we are an international boarding school. And the reason I put it in the middle is we sort of stand between the traditional British boarding school on the left and the tutorial colleges on the right. We are mainly international. We have just over 100 British students out of our 600 students, but mainly international. But more than that, we believe in internationalism. We want students to meet students from other countries and different cultures and to get to know them and get to understand them. Boarding school as well. We have a large campus, a very beautiful campus, just like many of the traditional British schools there on the left. And the feel is very different to the tutorial colleges, which have just a few buildings in the city. And very often when I am overseas marketing, and I know that those tutorial colleges, Cardiff Sixth Form College, Oxford International College, they market very aggressively, particularly in Malaysia. I always say to people, please, please, if you can, visit the different schools. And if you are able to come and visit us and visit those other places, you will see a huge difference. Now, before I leave this screen, I just want to say, obviously, perhaps the most important thing to you is results. What about the academic results of those different kind of institutions? And the thing I always say to students is this, that if you are clever, you will do extremely well at the traditional British school. You will do extremely well at the tutorial colleges, and you will do extremely well at Concord College. So if you are clever, those are all good schools. They're not bad schools, but they're very different schools. But you will do well in each of those different types of school. So how do you choose? Well, there are a couple of things which I would like you to think about. One is what we call destinations, the universities that you will go on to from that college. And I can show you in a moment that the destinations that Concord College students go on to equal and surpass the destinations of the other schools listed on that screen. So that's the first thing to think about, destinations. The second thing to think about is safety. And I guess this is something that parents in particular think more about than the students themselves. But if you are sending your child to the other side of the world to study, actually the most important thing, even more important than results, is that they will be safe. And Concord College is an extraordinarily safe environment to study in. It's some way from the city, it's in the countryside, it's in a beautiful, highly protected campus, and you will know that your children will be safe there. They will not get into any trouble in the evenings, and they will go to a place which is a family place, which is extremely friendly and harmonious. Concord College. Concord means harmony, and that is what we try very hard to promote at Concord College. And it always amazes me, something I can't put my finger on, but everyone who visits the college just says, this place is so friendly. How do you do it? And my answer is, actually, I don't know, but it is a very, very welcoming and friendly place. And I guess that explains what Gabriel was talking about at the beginning, that student loyalty that we build up and maintain over many, many years of students who've been at Concord College. Now, moving on, that is our campus. You can see it's a very beautiful, very green place. And I'll just tell you a little bit about some of the highlights on the campus there. That is our main building. It's just over 200 years old. And if you go inside, it feels like you're going into a five-star hotel. It's a very beautiful, classical old building. But we have even more history on our campus as well. We have two buildings here which date from 800 years ago. We have a castle, bottom right, and then on the left we have a building which they say is the place where the first ever parliament met in the UK. So we have to look after these buildings very, very carefully. It's a place of great history at the college. However, we also have some very new buildings, and perhaps the building we're proudest of is this one here, which is our Science Centre. And here we have a huge building with 22 state-of-the-art science laboratories in there and 4 other teaching rooms as well. Now, I'm not a scientist, I'm an English teacher, and when I go into that building, I find it really inspiring. It makes me want to study science subjects. You will not find a finer science building anywhere in the UK. It is just mind-blowing, and we want to make it really special for our students because so many come to us to study science subjects. Just show you a few more scenes of that building. We also take sport very seriously, and we have 2 sports halls for students to exercise in their free time. There's all kinds of indoor sports there. We also have a swimming pool. And over there we have an art centre because many students particularly want to study architecture at university, and art is a very important part of that. We have a state-of-the-art library, which is a very beautiful place to study. We have a theatre for music and for drama. We have a student common room. So this is where the students can go and relax in their free time. They have discos in there on Saturday nights, and there are all kinds of leisure facilities in there. We also have a student kitchen, which is a place where students often will gather as a group at the weekends. They'll go to the local town, they'll buy ingredients, and they'll come back and they'll cook together in one big party. These are our boarding houses, and now we have it that every student has a single room, and senior students will have an ensuite single room. And they're extremely comfortable buildings, those single rooms. We also have other sports facilities, running track. We have 3 or 4 different football pitches. So sport in your leisure time to keep fit is an important part of what we have to offer Concord. It's not all about study. Now, these are our recent set of grades. We are 84% A-star A for our A-level students, and for GCSE, which is the equivalent of your SPMs, we are A-star to A, 87%, we've just changed our grading system to grade them from 9 is the top grade now, going down to 7, which is the equivalent of an A. But we have outstanding rates of entry to top universities, which I will show you in just a moment. Now, our students, rightly or wrongly, I think wrongly, but they often talk about the big 5 universities. And by the big 5, they mean those universities you can see along Cambridge, Oxford, Imperial College London, the London School of Economics, LSE, and UCL, University College London. So those are the universities which our students tend to aspire to. Now, as a British person with experience all around the UK, I often tell them that actually there are other very good universities like Warwick and Durham and Bristol and Exeter. And academically, I think they are the equal of some of those other universities in the Big 5. My own children, I had one daughter who went to the University of Durham, and I would much prefer that she went to Durham than to UCL. However, our students want the Big 5. Now, what I'm going to show you is the offers that we've had from the Big 5 in the recent times. So Cambridge and Oxford, we tend to average out at just over 20 each year. And interestingly, you'll notice that Cambridge attracts more offers than Oxford. Now, people often ask me why. And it's interesting because Cambridge did not used to have entry tests. And it was perceived by our students that Cambridge was more forgiving in its entry process than Oxford was. By that I mean they didn't have the entry test and they interview far more students who apply to them than Oxford does. Now this established a kind of unequal balance between them at our college because every year now far more students apply to Cambridge than they do for Oxford, because they continue to think it's easier, it's easier to get into Cambridge. So each year we may have 40, 45 students who apply for Cambridge and only 10 or 15 who apply for Oxford. Personally, I still think that Cambridge is more friendly to overseas students than Oxford, but it has become a rather self-perpetuating pattern that every year more students apply to Cambridge and Oxford. Moving on to Imperial, as you probably know, Imperial College in London is based on science and engineering, and it has an extremely good reputation for those subjects. And according to some rankings, the degrees at Imperial are superior to some of the degrees at Oxford and Cambridge. And increasingly now we've had students at Concord College who have turned down an offer from Oxford or Cambridge in order to go to Imperial.
Wow.
Now, that is partly because of the magnet that is London, but also because if you look at the the employment figures that are produced by the universities, Imperial seem to have better statistics for students going on to find very good jobs, very high-paying jobs, even than Oxford and Cambridge. And it's a similar story, the London School of Economics. We've had a number of students, including a Malaysian girl a couple of years ago, who turned down a place at Cambridge in order to go to London School of Economics. I was chatting to her the other day online and said, do you ever regret choosing LSE? And she said, no, it's got me this great job in a bank in KL and I'm happy here. Just a word about LSE in particular is The figures there are a little bit lower, but something that many people don't appreciate is the London School of Economics is much smaller than the other universities on this chart. So we have been told in recent years, I think 2 years ago, by LSE, that LSE made more offers to students from Concord College than any other school in the world. So we are very proud of our record with LSE. London School of Economics have told us that, and UCL have told us exactly the same thing. Look at those numbers of students who had offers from those from UCL. So in the last couple of years, half of our student body have had an offer from UCL. Now, some of you may be adding up. This column on the left shows the number of students and thinking, hey, that adds up to more than that. But of course, some students will hold an offer from more than one of these places. But the reason why I show you these statistics is just to show you the kind of choice that you are likely to have if you come to Concord College. Now, earlier on, we were talking about some of those other schools that come to Malaysia, and I can promise you that those statistics outdo the statistics from those other schools. So even though sometimes our A-level results are not quite as high as those places, the important thing to think about is destinations, and that is our track record, and that we are very, very proud of that. Just moving on a little bit, so those are the totals over the last 5 years at the bottom of the screen. Just a quick word about medicine. We have lots and lots of students applying for medicine at Concord, and the majority of them are successful. So we've just had the head boy from the Lodge School in Kuching, who's just successfully applied for medicine at UCL, for example. And a long track record, particularly with students from Malaysia and Singapore. Nice to be joined by a dog, if you don't mind. But we are very, very proud of our track record in medicine at Concord. Did someone shoot the dog? Okay, let's move on a little bit. Now, one of the reasons why we have such success is our program to support university applications. We very regularly run trips each year to Oxford and Cambridge, and sometimes they come and visit us with a speaker. We also every year have speakers come to us from Imperial, UCL, LSE and King's, because they know that they will find extremely good quality students year in, year out at Concord College. We also have appointed experts who we call university coordinators in the key subjects. So we have a team of actually 5 university coordinators who are experts in medicine, for example. We have a team of 2 teachers who are university coordinators for engineering. We have others for mathematics, for law, for architecture, and so on. And those people know a lot about what makes a good application to the universities in those subjects. And they give hours and hours of time to help students get their applications together. Another thing we do is we do training and practice in entry exams. If you are aware of the medicine exams, UCAT and BMAT, and then the law exam, LNAT, you get lots of practice with those exams to improve your performance. We also offer a program of online one-to-one support, and that is done with past students. For example, if we have a student who we know wants to apply for chemical engineering at Imperial College London, we will hook them up with an alumni who is studying chemical engineering at Imperial College in London. And they will have a series of one-to-one sessions where advice is given by that old student to the applicant. And we've put a lot of time and effort into this program, and we actually pay our old students to do this for their time that they spend online supporting our current students. And that is a very successful and popular part of our program. Another thing we offer is we offer summer preparation courses in some of the high number subjects, particularly in medicine and in engineering and in law and economics. So you can come to a 2-week course at the college where there are lecturers from the top universities who come to speak to the students about different issues, and that helps them to boost their application, especially if they're heading for an interview. It just makes them aware of the wider implications of the subject that they're studying, and it just increases their enthusiasm to hear so much more expert advice about it. So lots there. That explains a lot about why our university applications are so successful. It's a very beautiful place. Concord College is a life-changing place, and it's a magical place, and it's a place where dreams come true. It really does. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now, and I hope.
Yep. The architecture and the environment in Concord College make me feel like I want to go back to my high school time, that I should go back to college. Yeah.
Right, well, very nice. Yes. Well, we dressed you in jeans and a t-shirt, Gabriel, and I think you could pass for 18.
Yep. Mr. Lawrence, quite a number of students watching online now, because I know that a few of them talked to me before, and they are interested in medicine, right? What do you think it would be, what is a key criteria? I would not say it is not about other than results.
Sorry,
when we talk about results, when we talk about personal statement writing, you all can prepare them well, very well, right? But what do you see in the successful applicants for medicines or medical schools that in the past they have been successful? What kind of character that the students should acquire or they have in them that has made them successful in medicine, dentistry, vet science, or even Oxbridge?
Sorry. Hello?
Yes, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Hello?
Yes. Is it okay now?
Hello? Oh, it's better now, I think, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, yep. It's better now. There's a connection issue just now. Yep, yeah. Did my question get to you just now? No.
I know it was about medicine, but I didn't hear the
Right.
rest.
So, yeah. So my question was, hello. There's a delay. Yep. Okay. My question was that you have so many students apply for medicine, apply for maybe dentistry or vet science or Oxbridge. I'm very sure Concord can prepare them well for their results, for their personal statements writing, which is one part of being successful. But what do you see the key character of the students who can be successful in these courses? Because a few students that I have talked to, I've encouraged them to watch this live session. They've told me that they want to do medicine, You know, I said why. Some of them can't. Some gave me good reasons. They said that since young I read about books about medicine, about diseases and all this. But other than that, what do you think that makes them successful? What is the criteria that the university will choose them?
Well, different things they should be able to show is one thing which the universities is, does the student have a track record for showing compassion? And the best way to demonstrate that is that many students rightly arrange work experience. Many of our Malaysian students have doctors in their family, possibly parents, and they will arrange to attend a surgery or an operating theatre, and that is good. But actually, one thing even better than that, from the point of view of the universities, is to demonstrate compassion. For example, have you given voluntary work to an old people's home or an orphanage? Have you given up your time to help disadvantaged people? Those sorts of things are valued extremely highly by the universities. They want clever people, but they don't want brains on legs. They want people who care, and that's a very important quality. Another important thing is to show not simply that you are good at science subjects, but that you are actively interested in science. And the reason for that, of course, is that medicine is a lifelong learning process. All doctors have to carry on learning, updating their knowledge, going to courses, and anything that you can do to show that you're genuinely interested, in science is very, very helpful. So we have an extra qualification which many of our doctors take called the EPQ, Extended Project Qualification. And that is a qualification where you can choose a topic that you're particularly interested in, and you can research it and write about it, or even that you can devise an experiment in one of our magnificent laboratories to investigate more about it. So recently we've had students who were applying for medicine. One of them did a project on Alzheimer's. Another one did a project on how effective different doses of aspirin were, and they wrote it all up. So that was something carried out in the science laboratory. So that course, I'll say it again, Extended Project Qualification, EPQ, is an excellent way that people who want to do medicine can boost their application and demonstrate a real interest in science. If I can just say one more thing before your next question, Gabriel.
Yep.
One recent development we've done at the end of the first year of the A-level program is we produce a special report on each student called a Futures Report. And particularly for those students who are aspiring to medicine, is we produce grading based on lots of different categories, such as academic ability, such as ability in the entrance test, such as knowledge of the NHS, such as voluntary work, compassion, and other things, the wider extracurricular things. And we give them, each student, a measurement out of 5 for all of those qualities. And that is very useful. That allows us to pick out the students who are the strongest, we believe, applicants for medicine. In fact, the young man I mentioned just now, Clement Yong, who was the head boy at Lodge School, the year before last, he was actually number 1 in our measurement at that stage of the year for all of those different qualities required of a medic. So we're trying to give parents an indication of those different qualities that a student will need to make a successful medical application. And unfortunately, but it's true, part of that is also trying to indicate to parents where we think an application for medicine is not a good idea. Because we do get students or their parents who say they want to be a doctor, and we can see really as soon as they come in the door that they're not really suited.
Yep.
And that's our way of saying that.
Yeah, I text Clement's mom just now saying that in case she has any friends or family members who are interested in Concord College, where people might be asking her about her experience, I told her that could you please refer her friends to watch the live session tonight.
Yeah.
I remember Clement clearly because there was the mom asked me for help for the visa application and all this. So actually, I brought Clement to the visa application center in KL. It was on the same day that I had to travel to KL. So I said, why don't we make an appointment and get Clement on the same day and fly together with me to KL, and then
Oh, that's good. Yeah. He was. I know his mum. She was very uncertain about which school to send Clement to, and I hope she's very happy with the progress he's made. So I think UCL is probably one of the top 2 universities that students want to go to for medicine, and he got a place there. He was an outstanding student.
Well, yeah. So. Just a general knowledge for students in Malaysia. So our parents who have not decided. Some of them, I believe Sydney and her mom is watching at the moment as well. So for those parents, if you are watching it, if you have any question, please post it at the comment column, then we can answer it later on. But how do you select students from Malaysia? Are you looking at results only? I remember you refer some of them to sit for UKSET, which under British Council, and in Kuching normally I help to manage the test for UKSET as well. Yeah. So but other than UKSET, how do we look at how do we select students in Malaysia?
Okay, so we like to see the last 2 student reports. Now, we take students from many different countries, and in some countries, the school report really is not very helpful. But in Malaysia, they are usually really helpful, and we get a very clear idea of the kind of student this is from the report. So that's very useful. We also like to do an interview, either face-to-face if we're in country, or we do it via Skype or one of the many other platforms, 15, 20-minute interview at that stage. Now, you mentioned the UKSET test. We have been using that for a couple of years now, but we are moving away from it because we started using it and we have studied carefully about how effective it is in predicting performance at A-level. And we have looked at this statistically, and we have found that the UKSET test has 0 predictability for students coming to A-level. So we are dropping the UKSET test, and from this academic year, we are going to set specific tests. So, for example, if a student wishes to study medicine, we will ask them to take a test in maths, biology, and chemistry, 30-minute tests, MCQ, multiple choice questions in those subjects. So we are moving away from UKSET and we're crossing over to doing subject-specific tests.
Yep. So there are also students and parents. This is also a common questions that I have been asked, because IB is getting more and more popular as well. In the UK as well, there's also some schools in the UK purposely fly to Malaysia. They recruit, and they said they are they have IB program and all this. And whereas Concord has been offering A levels and A levels, meaning you don't have foundation, where some schools also offers foundation. But of course, foundation is not same par as IB or A levels. But how do you look at IB as well as A levels?
That is something historically which we've looked at a couple of times. The first thing to say is that IB is not as popular in the UK as some people claim it is. So UCAS tell us that only 3% of the applications they receive, only 3% are from students who have studied IB, which is a shock to many people. We can stick with A levels because we think it is more suitable for most of the students we see, because it is narrower and it allows students to specialize in the subjects that they are interested in. It takes a special kind of student to be successful at IB. If you are absolutely brilliant, you will do very, very well at IB and very, very, very well at A level. But for the vast majority of students, I think they will do better in A level studying only subjects that they like than they will at IB. One other thing to say about that is that often schools which do IB claim, and I think perhaps rightly, that the total number of points that you need at IB is unfairly high. So in other words, it seems like it's harder to impress universities with IB than it is at A level. So there's three different answers there. It is something we've looked at, but we are absolutely sure we want to stay with A level.
Yep. So how many subjects can an A level student choose in Concord College?
Yeah, all students start with 4. Many of them do not do 4 completely. So some of them stop after 1 year and take half an A level, which is called an AS level. So they will end up with 3.5, 3.5 A levels. One of the reasons many schools offer only 3, and universities ask for only 3. But we like to do 4 because many students are not sure what they want to study. So after this seminar is finished, I'm interviewing a girl who wants to study maths, biology, chemistry, and economics. And I'm guessing she probably wants to do medicine, but if she adds economics, it allows her to keep the door open for a little bit longer. Excuse me. I just noticed I'm running out of power a little bit. I'll just get So just to make that point again, a student who's doing maths, biology, and economics, maybe not sure what they want to do completely at university yet, and the 4th subject allows them to have a lot of flexibility about where they want to go. So that student can change direction and do a degree in economics if she decides medicine's not for her.
Okay. So before we went live just now, I actually share with you one thing, which is SPM this year, because of COVID-19, because of the closure of schools and all this. So the SPM has been delayed. So for students who are taking SPM, they would have to do it next January, where your intake is January. So what would be the student do? How would you prepare them?
Well, the best thing in that case is, well, there's 2 decisions. One is possibly to delay coming to the UK until the following September. And increasingly, we are getting students from both Malaysia and Singapore who do that. They finish their SPMs and then maybe they start at another school for a while, but then join us for A levels in the September, which is fine. Or some students, and this happens again quite often, is they decide to forego their SPMs and to come to us anyway. Now, I can understand for some parents that feels like a big risk. But if you put this into the international context, many students from different countries have no qualifications at the level of SPM or O level in Singapore or GCSE. For example, students in China, in Hong Kong often, in Vietnam, and many other countries have no equivalent. So they will be applying for university with no public exam at the age of SPM, at the level of SPM. So if you decide to forego the SPMs, it does not adversely affect your application to university later. Universities are used to it because so many countries don't have it. However, I think if I was a parent in that position, I would be very tempted to stay with the SPM. You know, you've studied it for nearly 2 years, and it doesn't matter if you join your A-level program a little bit later. You will be more mature, and you can use that time wisely during the interim. One thing we're not doing is we're not suggesting a student can come after SPMs even later, in end of January, beginning of February. Already a January start is pretty tough. To make it even shorter, it would be just cruel, I think. So we want to do that.
So we don't have anyone asking questions. Perhaps you have answered most of the question, but I have one last question, which is what are the safety measurements that Concord has put in place to welcome students? Oops. Uh-oh. I guess if you're watching me live, Mr. Lawrence has been locked out, or I think his laptop is running out of battery. So it is all right. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions to Concord College, perhaps you can actually post your question to me, or you can email to Mr. Lawrence, or you can actually just WhatsApp me. Many of you know my telephone number, 016-863-8623. You can actually text me directly, oh, okay, Mr. Lawrence is back. Yep, hi, Mr. Lawrence, you're back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what happened there.
All right, okay.
We will abide by the quarantine regulations put out by the UK government, and the UK government has said that the quarantine can take place in boarding schools. So we have done lots of reorganization of our school to make sure that we can quarantine students for that first 2-week period. We are very confident after that we can keep our students safe. And it's true to say that in all of this time, the last 5 months, no student at Concord, no worker at Concord, and no teacher at Concord has had the virus. And we are in a very safe area of the country. The virus is mostly something that's happening in cities. And if you remember the picture of the campus I showed you earlier, we are definitely not in a city. So it is a very safe location anyway. Another thing we're doing is on the 3rd day after arrival, we are testing all of our students for COVID-19. So we want to be sure that they have not had any issues on the journey in a plane or anything, just to be absolutely sure that they are free of the virus. We are making every student stay only in a single room, and we are limiting the class size. So we have measured every one of our classrooms to check what is the safe number of students we can have in each class, and we will be doing that as well. We've also altered our timetable so that the lessons are phased for the different cohorts. So we want to reduce the ability to contact each other between the different year groups of the college. And we've also done that for all of our meal times as well. So we'll have social distancing at meal time as well. We have contacted an organisation, and we are looking also at some antibody tests as well. But in the UK and I think elsewhere, there's still a little bit of uncertainty how reliable the antibody test is. But when they become available, we will have those and we will administer them as well. If, God forbid, a student did get the virus, we have also ordered in some special pods where students could stay and be isolated from the other students, so that they would be safely isolated if we needed to do that. And I did have an email from Vietnam last week saying, I've heard that if our students come, they won't be treated by the NHS. You will be treated just as equally as I would be in that situation. But I certainly know in our local hospitals, I know people who work there, they have no cases. The ward which they set aside for COVID is empty. And I expect that to continue. And I always reluctantly make this point that, the person who should most be worried about COVID at Concord College is me, because I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest person, and I'm male, and I fit all the statistics. And well, I'm going into work as usual. It doesn't worry me. I'm absolutely convinced that we're a safe place to study.
Yep. Okay. So one practical advice, Mr. Lawrence, for all your students or potential students online, how do they fly to? How do they travel? What is the most practical route of traveling to Concord, to Shrewsbury?
Well, it will be probably KL to Heathrow. I think there is still a flight from Singapore to Manchester, which is quite a convenient way to come. But it most likely is KL to Heathrow. We will meet the students at the airport. The bus travel will also be socially distanced. We are halving the number of students that can go on the bus and doing everything that we can to keep everyone safe all the way to Concord.
So we are not delaying any intake in the September. So even for those who have applied to come in September, you're going to welcome them, and classes are going to start in September.
Yeah, some parents have asked about will we be starting online, and our honest answer to that is no, because we think online is definitely not the same as being in the classroom, and we think this generation of students has suffered enough from this, and we want to get them back with us in the classroom. We did go online immediately from March. We were the first school to do that, and we were fully equipped and trained to do it. And we went online immediately. We even set exams online, which were monitored, proctored live, and that went very successfully as well. But we don't want to carry on doing that because we are convinced the college is safe, and we put absolute importance of the education of our students, and we want them back with their teachers.
Right. Okay. So we don't get any questions. So this video clip is going to be recorded, and then it will be posted to YouTube channel as well. So that so if there's any students or parents or counselors who know some students who are interested in Concord College, who might have missed the interview tonight, they can watch it on YouTube. And I just want to say thank you to Mr. Lawrence for getting receiving an invitation to do this talk online. And for students and parents, if you want to find out more about studying in the UK, like this channel or like this fan page. There'll be more and more. There are some other universities who will be getting online to talk about their courses or their program as well. So thank you to students and parents. I am going to end the live broadcast, and I have just one more question to talk to Mr. Lawrence. Yeah, thank you to students and parents. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.